introduce myself. I'd just like to talk now about the secondary products from EM. So we have EM1, which is, I've just got a 1 litre bottle here. It's called EM1 Garden. Now that's our mother product, if you like. And from that, you can actually make quite a number of other products. And I'm going to talk about those. So the first thing you can do with EM1 Garden is you can expand it. So you can grow it out basically, like growing out yogurt or ginger beer or something. And so to grow it out, you take 5% of this, and the other one I've got here is molasses, and 5% molasses, and 90% water. Mix the two together, and put it in a situation that's around 30 degrees, 7 days, and that solution will grow into what we call expanded EM. So that's a secondary, that's an expansion. So that makes the EM very economical, if you like, to use. So that's one form of EM being expanded. Another one, I don't know whether any of you had anything to do with bokashi. So bokashi is a bucket composting system, and bokashi is made with EM. So EM is the bokashi itself, or it's also called zing, which is a granulated powder, if you like. It's not quite powder, but it's made from sawdust and wheat bran and things like that. And then the EM is introduced into it and fermented into those substrates. Excuse me. And that's our bokashi, and that's the starter that is used to add to the food waste inside the bucket, airtight, and it ferments the food waste, and then when you put it in the garden, it breaks down very, very quickly. So that's the bokashi. Another secondary product is EM5, and that is like an insect repellent type product. So it's used by taking vinegar, some alcohol, and some EM and some molasses, and adding them in a solution with water, about 10% of each, and then and you let that ferment for a week, and that's quite a useful insect repellent. That's called EM5. Now, another product that we can make is what we call fermented plant extract. And so, if any of you have ever made a herb tea or a weed tea, this is a variation of that. And instead of just using water and the herb or the weed, we use both those things, water and the herb or weed, but we add EM and we add some molasses as well, and we get a fermented product. And I'm going to now try and show my PowerPoint. So how do I do that? Share of it. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yep, can see it.
Okay, great. So now I just have to make it go work. Okay, so back. So I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Dr. Tim Jenkins. He was a scientist. Dr. Tim was at Lincoln Uni at the biological husbandry unit for a number of years. I know Tim very well, and he did quite a lot of research with EM while he was at the BHU at Lincoln Uni. And this trial that he did was this trial I'm going to show you. He looked at 3 different herb teas and he compared them with the herb and water only, the herb plus water plus molasses only, and then the herb plus water plus molasses plus EM. And then he, after making these herb teas, he planted some, what was it, zucchini as a test crop. And in this particular site, the soil had a range of damping off diseases, Pythium and damping off fungi. So the soil was not in a wonderful state, but it's exactly what we wanted to test this trial. So there's the zucchini plant. And the first herb was comfrey, which is quite common as a herb. Cow parsley, fennel, and giant knotweed, which you won't know, you may not have heard too much about, but it is known as a biological control agent in some places. So then he took those herbs. There's Dr. Tim Jenkins there, and you can see he's got a bucket. The bucket there with the solution of water and the herb. He's adding his molasses and the EM into those buckets, and then mixing and putting the lid on and leaving for a week to 10 days, and then applying as a spray over the crops. Now that's not the actual crop that I'm just demonstrating that's how it was sprayed on. So it was sprayed onto the crops, onto the soil. So it was sprayed on prior to the zucchinis being planted, and then it was applied after they emerged. Now this is quite a table, but this is the percentage survival of the plants, of the zucchini plants, according to treatment. So if you look at this column here, the fennel with water only, 50% survival, with comfrey, 40%, cow parsley, 30%, giant knotweed, 60%, average of 45%. So that's just as a herb tea. Then when you added molasses, for some reason it went down there. That's a quirk of experiments. And then comfrey and cow parsley similar, giant knotweed all similar. So the molasses didn't make a big difference. Then when we added EM to it, we increase our survival. 60% there, 70% for comfrey, cow parsley 70%, giant knotweed 100% survival. So what that's telling us is that by adding the EM in the mix to make the herb tea, they got a better survival of plants, which meant the solution was dealing to the seedling diseases that were in the soil, the damping off and the Pythium. And then the next treatment is just the yield. And, once again, this is just the yield of the crop. So, of course, when you have a high survival, you also have a much higher yield. So if we look over here, this is just with the water. water only with the herbs. Molasses, slightly more, not much more. With the EM, double. So that gave us a lot of confidence really with this trial, and it was conducted by Tim Jenkins. So the best herb was giant knotweed, which is, unfortunately, it's a weed that is not that common, and it's considered a noxious weed in some places. So we considered trying to do something with it, commercialize it. It has been commercialized in some other countries just as a biological control in its own right, where they take the plant and grind it and make it into a powder, and then it has been sprayed on to, I think it's been used in the viticultural industry for some disease control. But this was a very nice trial that demonstrated that you can enhance your herb teas by combining EM and molasses. The molasses just as a food to expand the EM. So that's really. I'd just like to finish in a minute just on this. This is secondary products. So I've talked to you about Bokashi. I've talked about EM5, which is insect repellent, and I've talked about the EM fermented plant extract, which is like the herb tea. And also initially I talked about how you expand the EM. So in a way, when we make this herb tea, you're expanding the EM in the tea as you're making this tea. So the EM's expanding in the amongst the material. And I think by doing that, it has that opportunity to perhaps extract more of the active ingredients out of the plants.